Ladies and gentlemen and all, good evening and welcome to this first of 4 of our GAP information sessions. Tonight we'll be looking at volunteering, and we'll get to that very shortly. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people here with us today. Now, a couple of things that we'd just like to go through before we get going. Please remain on mute throughout the presentation, because we find if there's any background noise that comes from places that you may not expect, like my noisy neighbours here, for example, if you're on mute, it won't interrupt the presentations. Please keep your video on. We'd like to be able to see your faces. You don't have to do that, but it'd be nice to see who we're talking to. If you have a question at any time throughout the presentation, you'll see the chat button at the bottom of your screen, and please use that. We'll be monitoring that throughout the information session, and we'll be getting back to it a little bit later on and relaying those questions and getting them answered for you. Just a reminder, this presentation is being recorded, and for people who haven't been able to make it tonight, we'll be emailing it to those people who either would like to see it for the first time or would like to see it again. So with all that in mind, tonight we're talking about GAP volunteering, and very few people in the organisation that we know knows more about the ins and outs of volunteering and the joys of volunteering for GAP than Rose Streetfield. I'm sure many of you have already spoken to Rose, or you know of her work. She's something of a legend within the industry, within our group. It's an absolute pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rose Streetfield.
Thank you, Phil, for very kind words. Thanks everyone for coming along tonight. It's really fantastic that so many people are interested to find out more about volunteering with GAP. So I'll give a general overview of the opportunities that we have within GAP. And hopefully a few of you or all of you will be really interested and keen and can join up and get involved and be part of the team. It really is a great community. Our volunteers are awesome. They're the most passionate people I've met. So if you love greyhounds and you love animal welfare and looking after our beautiful dogs, then this is the place to be. So hopefully I'll be able to answer your questions. As Phil said, please do pop through some questions. I'll try and answer them throughout I'll hopefully answer them through my presentation, but if I haven't answered anything, then we can get to them at the end. So let's get started. We actually have 3 roles within GAP. So very varying roles too. So it really just depends on what interests you. So we've got our community engagement, Greyhound enrichment and foster care. So I'll touch on each of those roles throughout the presentation and go through the main points of each role. And as I said, hopefully answer questions. And then, I'll also let you know how to apply for the roles at the end. So I've just popped in some videos. So you don't have to listen to me talk the whole time. This video is because we're going to start off with our community engagement role. So this is our promotional role where we get out and about in the community. So I thought let's start off with a video on it. So this is the Royal Melbourne Show. It is a few years old, but hopefully it'll give you an idea of what it's all about. Some of you probably even seen us at the Royal Melbourne Show, so you already know what this is about, but a good way to start this section.
The Greyhound adoption program are full of great initiatives, but the one that I think might just beat them all is this one right here at the Royal Melbourne Show.
misconception about greyhounds. People think that they're actually a bit vicious because they wear a muzzle when they're racing, and that's really just for their safety when they race. But post-racing, and even whilst they are racing, they're very, very lazy and very gentle and affectionate dogs. And because they have been brought up in a racing environment, they love people and families and kids, so they're the perfect pet for any age.
Oh, I think it's important because, you know, a racing life of a dog doesn't go for that long, so a big part of life for them is in retirement. So to find them good homes is really important, and something that's pretty close to my heart after owning a racing dog that didn't race for too long because it wasn't that great. But yeah, I think it's really important.
And you actually fostered a greyhound during your time with Gap. What was that experience like?
I did, Emma. She very well behaved, very quiet, and one thing that people don't realise is how lazy they are. You can see them all sitting around here, and they don't require a lot of work, pretty clean, and yeah, it was sad to see her go in the end. Last year we adopted out 1,300, which was a record, and you know, the word's getting out there now that they're great dogs and make great pets, so that's something we'll keep spreading, and hopefully we can beat 1,300 from last year.
Families have the opportunity to interact with former race dogs here at the Royal Melbourne Show, and I think it's fair to say that most of these puppies here today could be finding new families.
They actually can live in small spaces as well, so you don't have to have a lot of room. So once they've had their 30 seconds running around doing zoomies, we call it, then they're good to go and just they'll sleep all day. So perfect, ideal pet for those that don't want a high maintenance pet.
All right, so yes, that's a bit of an intro to what community engagement's all about. So this role is for those that actually do own a Gap Greyhound. So you have the green collar and you bring them along to events. So if we just stood at a stand by ourselves, we're pretty boring, but having the dogs there really helps people to come over, talk to us, engage, ask questions, and get to know what a greyhound's like. We've still got lots of people out there that are unsure or haven't met a greyhound before. So seeing them at promotions is a really great way to break down those barriers. And often, like for example, at the Royal Melbourne Show, it may not be an immediate effect of someone making the decision to adopt a greyhound, but it certainly sticks in their minds and they come back, you know, a few years down the track when they're ready to adopt a dog and they remember seeing these lazy dogs that are just chilling out at an event. So the Royal Melbourne Show is our biggest and busiest, and not all of the events are that full on. So if your dog may not be up to the Royal Melbourne Show, we certainly have some other opportunities that will be friendly for those dogs that may not be too keen on rides and loud noises that you find at the show. But generally what you'll do is bring your greyhound along and you'll be answering questions from the public about what a greyhound's like. Are they good with kids? Do they need lots of exercise? And then also just helping people to navigate the adoption side. So where do they go? How do they do it? And those sorts of general questions. So you certainly don't need to know everything, but generally when you're attending a shift, there's usually one or two other volunteers with you, so you can always chat with them and see what their thoughts are. But there's also the fallback of Gap, so you can always just get people to contact us and we'll be happy to talk to them. So I guess it is important to remember that when you are at these events, you are representing Gap, and that's why we suggest just chatting with other volunteers and that sort of stuff if you're not sure, because you don't need to know everything. We don't expect people to know everything, but you certainly learn a lot along the way too that will probably help you down the track. And certainly all these, I should say, all these roles are family friendly. So if you have kids that want to come along and want to help out and they want to talk to people about greyhounds, they certainly can. We love having the family involved. We just need to make sure that the adults have the control over the greyhound, but it's certainly great way of getting the kids involved. So some of the opportunities we have like I said, is the Royal Melbourne Show. We've got the Gap Cafe as well. That can be often a good place to start, especially during the week if you can. It's a little bit quieter so you can see how your greyhound responds. It's not, promotions are not for every greyhound, so it's important that you slowly work your way into it just to make sure your greyhound's happy and enjoying it too, because it's not just about the humans, it's about the dogs as well, and we want them to have fun when they're out talking to the community. We also have promotions at our racetracks for some of their major events that they have, and also the community events that they hold at the racetracks too. And then we also have other community events that pop up throughout the year, so things like pet expos. So that's pretty much an overview of the community engagement. We'll get into the Greyhound enrichment role now. So again, I've just got a nice little video to introduce us to this topic. So we've got one of our community groups that comes up, and there's a little bit of a background story on these guys.
So this is the Ivanhoe Diamond Valley Centre, this Adults with Disabilities, and they've been coming to Gap here for over 10 years. It's an opportunity for them to get out of the city and to come up to the country and enjoy being with the dogs. So with the dogs they help by grooming. We've got a lot of dogs that getting ready for adoption. They'll be helping with grooming, but also they help us change the dogs' beds, because often the dogs rip them up or tear them or they just need changing. So they help strip them down and fix them up for us. We have two other fellows here that routinely, Robert and Ian, have been tremendous. They help us feed the dogs every week. So we've got 60 to 70, sometimes up to 80 dogs here, so they'll help us feed those, which is a tremendous help, and they're very enthusiastic and enjoy doing that.
Oh, they enjoy it. They love it so much. Yeah, it's like some of them might not even have pets before. It's the highlight of their week, so they actually are ready before I even start getting the bus and all the stuff ready to come here. Because the quicker we get here, the more time they get to spend at the GAP program. I think all the dogs love them coming here as well. They get so excited when the guys come.
They come bouncing out of the bus and they shake my hand and they say hello, and basically we generally have a bit of a chat as we get them set up for the tasks that need doing, and they're very adaptable. Every time I've got something different that needs doing, they're keen to get onto it and help. Just before they go, they have half an hour where they sit out in our area for adoption, and they enjoy the day and have their lunch. So it's a little bit like a picnic for them. Yeah, so they have a lot of fun.
Yeah, wonderful to see how excited they are with all the dogs. It just gives them a sense of pride, of all the work they've done.
So enrichment is what we're going to be talking about next. So this is a really important part of our care for the greyhounds that are actually in our kennels that we're looking after currently. So and it's probably this role is probably the one that's had the most development over the last 12 months. So we've got a lot of more exciting things involved in this. So there's lots of fun to be had in this role. So I guess with enrichment and interacting with the greyhounds in our care, there's some really key important roles that it plays. So we're helping to relieve stress while they're in the kennel environment, building confidence with people, engaging their minds to try and get them to think and work out problems and problem solve. teaching them life skills. So when they go into a pet home, they may have learnt how to use stairs, for example, or experience some different floor surfaces. And it just generally helps them relax and have fun. So this is definitely the role where we want to engage and play and just generally have a heap of fun with the greyhounds. So this role can be done both at Seymour and Tullamarine. So some of you may be aware that we have got some kennels now in Tullamarine that started this year, and we are having volunteers down at Tullamarine starting this week. So that's really exciting. Sorry, I should say next week. We're not through this week yet. So that's, really a new part of this role as well. So our Seymour shifts are Tuesday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m, Tullamarine Sunday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. In terms of the timing, it doesn't mean that you have to be there for the whole time. You can shorten those hours if you would like. It's this, and it goes for all the roles. They are really flexible. So you don't have to come up every week to do this role. It's whatever fits in. And it's the same with community engagement and foster care. So whatever's going to fit your lifestyle, that's what we want it to do. So you can certainly come up every week if you would like to. But if it's something that you may only be able to do a few times a year, that is still awesome on our end. You don't actually need a greyhound for this role, and it's actually a really good way of introducing yourself to the breed. So the main thing is that you need to be comfortable handling larger breed dogs. We have some really excitable dogs up at Gap that are really keen to get to know you and give you lots of kisses. So if you are comfortable with a larger breed of dog, then this is something that's going to be good for you. So what do you get to do? As I said, lots of fun stuff. So there's walking, washing, grooming, and then we've got lots of different activities that are going to engage the senses of the greyhounds. So we've got things like licking mats, cardboard activities, which you can see in the picture. So they're tearing things apart and finding treats hidden in different cardboard items. We've got snuffle mats, kongs. You can blow bubbles down the kennels. We've got aromatherapy, and you can even just have some quiet time with the greyhounds too. So for those greyhounds that may not be as boisterous as some of the other ones, they're a bit more quiet and reserved, you might just want to chill out with them and groom them, or just sit with them. You can even read a book to them. So there's a whole range of different activities that you can get involved with on this one. And it just, it enables them to have something different throughout their day. We try and spread the activities out so it's something different for them each day. And yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it helps reduce the stress and provide them, as we said, with some entertainment. So that's a quick snapshot of the enrichment side. So this, we're going to start or finish, with foster care. So this is another video. This is Peggy Lou, one of our awesome foster carers, and this is a really great video to introduce this topic.
Many years ago, my first bull terrier got quite sick and we needed quite a bit of blood, and I asked by chance where it came from, and greyhounds are universal donors. So I promised, vowed and declared one day that I'd help them and pay them back, and all those years later I heard the little "you promised" fire off, and so here I am. Fostering greyhounds is a bit addictive. It's very much a roller coaster ride, and that's always fun. You just don't know what's going to come in the door next. I like to juggle the greyhounds with my lifestyle. I try and take them everywhere I go, give them new experiences every day, and on the weekends especially, socialising out to the cafes and restaurants and dog walks and all sorts of things. I've got Miss Lily with me at the moment, and she's a beautiful little girl, 3-year-old Brindle, and she's a little bit of a princess sometimes. Within 5 minutes of arriving here, she discovered my bed, her bed, the lounge, all the things she's not meant to discover. I think that I always get more things out of the greyhounds than they ever get out of me. They just bring so much joy and happiness and entertainment to your life. They're probably one of the most loyal breeds you'll ever come across, and they're a beautiful, beautiful animal.
and from personal experience, I can tell you foster care is a lot of fun. So with our foster care program, it's temporary care. So around about 3 weeks, you actually take a greyhound into your home. You're helping the greyhound, I should say, transition from kennel life to pet life. It is all very new and different to them. So you'll notice some very strange reactions to different things. They might be a bit unsure or scared of different things because they've just never experienced it before. So our role is to show them the world just one step at a time, not all at once, and help them get used to what they're about to move into, and also learn how to socialise with other dogs and that sort of stuff. So we have various pick up and drop off locations. As you can see on the screen, so we've got Sandown Greyhound Racing Club, Gap Tullamarine and Gap Seymour. So we have a few different options for that. So Sandown is Saturdays and Wednesdays from 11 a.m. And then Tullamarine, we've got Wednesdays and Saturdays from about 1 p.m. and an appointment Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Gap Seymour's by appointment, and that's generally Monday to Saturday as well. So lots of different options there. There is support there for you. So we know that animals, things happen when you're looking after animals. So not only do you have help from me along the way, we also have our private Facebook group that we have, which has got our GAP staff as well as our foster carers with lots of experience there. So pretty much whatever issue that may pop up in your home, someone else in the group would have experienced it before as well. We also have training throughout the year that pops up, which, if you'd like to come and learn new skills, that's another great way, and it's a great way to get to know each other as well. And we do cover the reasonable medical expenses of the foster dog, because again, things happen to animals when they're in homes, so we expect those sorts of things to pop up along the way as well. So I've sort of covered this briefly, but basically, as I said before, it is helping them learn about how to be a pet and what occurs in pet life. So it's learning how to be alone, getting up and down stairs, getting in and out of a car, learning manners, so they just don't grab things off the bench. They are really tall dogs, so we've lost many TV remotes, PlayStation consoles, those sort, not consoles, sorry, the remotes. So they are little cheeky animals sometimes. There's been some roast chickens go missing. So it's, they certainly are quite cheeky when they get into home, and they don't really know what's right or wrong. So that's our aim, is to help them learn what is right and wrong. And so they can settle in a home when they move into their adoptive life. Another really key thing for them to learn is how to interact appropriately with other dogs. So learning how to do calm meet and greets. You don't need to be a dog trainer, so don't panic. We're not going to get you to get the greyhound to sit, drop. That's not what we're concerned about. It's just learning how to be a good dog, basically. And there's some really basic things to do for the dog socialization. So again, it's nothing too complicated. And we go through that when we do the training as well. And then it's everything else that they learn while they're out there as well is super important. So in terms of the foster care side, like what do you need as a carer? Well, in terms of what we give you, we'll give you the muzzle, because our foster dogs require wearing a muzzle when they're out for walks. That's one of our requirements. You get a bag of food, which covers you for the foster period. A jacket, so at night time when it gets a bit cool, or if it's a cold winter's day, you've got a jacket to pop on the greyhound. You've got a lead and a collar. In terms of what you guys need to provide, so bed, usually an inside bed and an outside bed, and then the food and water bowls, and usually some treats as well, so you can use those treats when you're training, which really helps just to encourage a greyhound to learn what to do. So in terms of matching the dog to your home, so what we're aiming to do is take all the information that you put in your application form. Where do you live? What sort of outdoor space do you have? Do you have kids? If so, how old are they? Do you have animals at home? And if there are dogs, what breeds are they? Are they male or female? And we'll match the greyhound as best we can to those sorts of environments. If you don't have any other pets at home, generally the first question that pops up is, I'm a full-time worker, can I foster? The answer is yes. We definitely have adopters that are full-time workers, so it is really a great skill to help teach our greyhounds how to be alone. I can't guarantee that they will cope by themselves when they first move in, but that's where we come in to try and help them get used to that sort of environment. So that's mainly in terms of matching. Unfortunately, we're not able to accept apartment homes at this time. We have a really great group of apartment foster carers already. So just at least a small outside space is ideal for foster care, so we can leave the greyhounds unattended outside when you have to go to work or to the shops or wherever you're off to. All right, so that's an overview of the roles. So I guess what's next? So we'd love, if you are interested, to please sign up and go through the application process. So jump on GAP's website, there's a volunteering tab, and then there's the different roles that we've just gone through. You just complete the application for whichever role that you would like to do, and then you can fill out the application form. That comes to us, we'll then review it. You'll get an email back to say if we need more information or if you've been accepted. And generally, if you've been accepted, the next step is the induction, which we hold those inductions up at Seymour. It's the only time that you need to come up, unless, of course, you're going to do enrichment up at Seymour. Once you've done that, once you've done the induction, then you can start volunteering, which is the exciting bit. In terms of the enrichment volunteers, so you'll do an on-site induction as well as part when you come up to Seymour for the initial induction. If you are interested in volunteering down at Tullamarine, we will then get you to do an on-site induction at Tullamarine, because the sites are different, so we just need to go through some safety aspects and those sorts of considerations. But that's pretty much it, and then you can get started. So I guess these are my contact details. So I'm certainly happy to chat to anyone, either via the phone or email. So please, if you do want any more information from what I've presented tonight, please touch base. And as I said, the application forms can be found on GAP's website as well. So that's pretty much it from me. And I guess we're going to head over to questions.
Thank you, Rose. Absolutely magnificent and really well presented. My colleague Philippa Lavery has been taking note of the questions that are going on to chat, and it's not too late if anybody would still like to pose a question at this point in time for Rose about volunteering. Philippa, what do we have on the chat board?
Yes, so somebody has asked, how often is induction held at Seymour?
Yep.
And how long is each session for induction training?
So the inductions up at Seymour are held once a month, generally the first Saturday of each month, but they are all scheduled. So once you get through the application process and that's your next step to sign up to the induction, you just log into the portal and you can see every date that the inductions are scheduled for, but once a month. In terms of length of induction, so they are held from 9:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. on a Saturday.
Cool. We had an earlier question. Are enrichment opportunities available at the Tullamarine site, which I guess you did sort of answer, so.
Yes, yeah, no, they definitely are. So we're up and running as of next week down at Tullamarine. And we just, as I mentioned just before, there is an on-site induction for the Tullamarine site because you'll already have completed the Seymour on-site induction up there when you do the induction.
Cool. What do you love the most about working with GAP?
Well, I guess a lot of our answers are probably going to be the same, the greyhounds. So they're a pretty good part of the role. But I guess in my particular role, in addition to the greyhounds, are the volunteers. As I said at the beginning of the presentation, they're the most passionate people that I know, and they always make my role fun. because they're always willing to help and get involved. So it makes my life pretty easy.
Cool. Another question, what would you best suggest for people considering adoption at some later stage? Would you suggest starting with volunteering and then perhaps going into adopting?
Yeah, it can certainly be a really great way of getting involved. And I guess it depends which way you want to go. So the enrichment can be a great way in terms of getting to know their personalities, having a go at interacting with them, managing them, without obviously having to take them home and look after them. So that can be one way. And we've had many volunteers go down that path where they've done enrichment and then decided that, yep, these are the dogs for me, I'll adopt. Because you certainly do learn a fair bit about caring for them on site. And then there is the fostering side of things. That's definitely a great way of getting to know the greyhounds and what they're like. Because I guess when you adopt, the initial start of the adoption period is like fostering, so getting them to settle in and that sort of stuff. So you'll be pretty good at that by the time you get to the adoption side. Though I would say in terms of fostering with the thought of adopting, just on personal experience dealing with foster carers, most people that have a thought about adopting generally adopt their first dog. So that's just something that I've seen going through helping out the volunteers.
Yeah. If someone was interested in volunteering from January, should they start the process now? Somebody's already thinking about 2023.
That's very prepared. Yeah, you certainly can. It doesn't matter when you do the induction. I guess it depends on what role you're keen to do. And trying to remember the information that you get from the induction. So you could do it now, but there's a potential that you may forget some of the stuff by the time you get to next year. So it might be a good idea just to wait a few months and then go through the process. But basically from that time that you complete the application, then complete the induction. So as soon as you finish that induction, you're ready to go. So from there, depending on what role you wanted to do, if you're doing foster care, you can pretty much pick up your dog that day after the induction. And same with enrichment, you can get started next week. So yeah, it just depends on what you want to do.
Cool. Leslie has said, not a question, just wanted to say greyhounds are the best. I've adopted 2 through GAP and I'd adopt more if I could.
We would love to adopt more to you, Leslie.
Siobhan's asked, is it okay to do enrichment once a month or do you need more of a commitment?
No. Once a month is awesome. It's whatever you can do. So really, we have some people that can only come up during school holidays, and that's totally fine. We just love that you're able to come up. I think in terms of all the roles, to answer that sort of commitment question, as long as you do it once, so you either attend a promotion shift once, foster a dog once, or come up to the kennels once, then that's all we're asking for. Anything else is a bonus.
Awesome. That's all the questions that have popped up in the chat. Unless there was anything else from anybody? No? Oh, with fostering, does it matter what breeds you have at home? That's a good question.
Yeah, so we'll be doing, which I should have mentioned in the foster care part, is that next week we're doing a foster care specific information session. So if anyone would like to know more information, obviously you can contact me, but we also have that information session next Wednesday. To answer that question about the dogs, unfortunately, if you've got small dogs, and that sort of rules you out of the foster care side of things. We can certainly adopt to small dog homes, but unfortunately with foster care, we need medium to large breed dogs.
Okay. Somebody's asked, looking forward to hopefully volunteering in the enrichment program, how far in advance do you require our availability for shifts?
So the shifts are already scheduled on the portal. So it's just comes back to whenever suits you. So how it works is you just log into the volunteer portal and go to the opportunities tab and look at what shifts are available and sign up to whichever ones. We do have maximum of people allowed per shift. So sometimes you may not be able to sign up, and that potentially could be the reason why, because we're already full. But yeah, it depends how prepared you want to be. You could book, a month down the track, your shifts that you would like to attend, or sometimes you can just do it a day or two beforehand.
Cool. Ruth has asked, when's your next enrichment induction at Seymour? I'm not sure if you already answered or not.
Yeah, so we've just done April's induction last weekend. I did that one. So our next one is Saturday, the 7th of May. That's the next one. So if anyone is keen to sign up and be a volunteer, just make sure your application's in before the 7th of May and you'll be able to attend that induction session.
Awesome. I think that's it. Have I missed any, Phil? I don't think so.
No, I think that's covered it from what I can see. That's great.
Hooray.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you, Philippa. And thank you, everybody, for being here. I'd just like to say before we let you all go, this is the first of a series of information sessions that we're running over the next 4 weeks. Next Wednesday night, we'll be talking a lot more in detail about foster care. And going back to what Rose was saying earlier, I've been involved in 6 fosters so far and adopted the 7th, and I miss all 6 of them previously. They were just wonderful and a great experience to actually to teach the dogs new things and see how they react. It's really rewarding. That's next Wednesday. Following that, 2 weeks from tonight, there'll be more detailed information about adoption and exactly how that works. And the following week, the 27th of April, will be a very popular one with Dr. Beck, who is the vet at Seymour. Extremely popular. Beck is just mobbed wherever she goes. That one could last about 3 hours, to be perfectly honest. Beck is wonderful and has an incredible wealth of knowledge about the Greyhound breed from a behaviour and also medical point of view. So if you'd like to get involved with any of those, I'm sure there are places still coming up in those in the next few weeks. And please don't forget, the National Adoption Day is on the 30th of April. This will be held at the Sandown racing track. Sandown Greyhound track. National Adoption Day is something that encompasses every state in Australia to get behind the promotion of the adoption of these wonderful breeds. You would have seen Todd McKenney in a lot of the photos that and videos that have been in the presentation. He's been our National Adoption Day ambassador for a couple of years now, and he's been down to Victoria and appeared for us. He owns 2 greyhounds himself, and I believe he's about to star in a new ABC television program, including one of his greyhounds. But I'm sure that's still to come. We're not taking the lid off that just yet. The GAP website has a lot more information about all of this and a lot more. So please delve into the information. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. I see Tristan has put up a link there in the chat for more information about the National Adoption Day. We would like to see you again soon, either here online or at an adoption day, or perhaps at Seymour, or maybe just walking your beautiful greyhound somewhere in a park. Thank you all. I think we're done. Philippa, Rose, have we?
Yep, all good.
We've completed all we need to do.
I'm interested in Sean's greyhound. Sean, I've just spotted it.
I have Marshall here. So Marshall's 7, and he's a big smoocher, and he's hanging around me because he's waiting for his dinner. He's very hungry, so he's not happy that I'm on here at the minute. So as soon as I drop off, I took him for a walk just before we started, and he's a beautiful boy, and he's like really all the greyhounds that we have in our program. They're incredible, and reading from the chat, so many of you already have greyhounds and you've experienced how wonderful they are. So and I think just to echo what Rose mentioned earlier, volunteering is such an important part for GAP, and we're so lucky with the volunteers that we have who sign up for all three important areas. And it would be wonderful if some of you who joined tonight sort of took the plunge and joined the GAP volunteering team. Rose does an incredible job. She's phenomenal. She's been with GRV for a number of years now in GAP, as Phil touched on, and she's amazing. So yeah, just to echo what Rose said earlier as well, thank you for joining tonight.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, everybody. And as I said earlier, hope to see you again with a beautiful Greyhound in tow. Thanks for coming.